everybody has a different determination on success. Like for example, like you think about Elon Musk, right? If I had the money that Elon Musk has, I would not be building spaceships or
you wouldn't put pants on.
I would, yeah. I would be Rodney Dangerfield. I don't know if you guys you heard about Rodney Dangerfield, that he would just show up to these places with like a robe on and his nuts hanging out.
Yep.
You know what I mean? All right, episode 31. I can't believe it seems like since we there we go. Big celebration. To all those Australian fans, I don't know if you guys know that, but we're huge in Australia. We're thinking of doing an Australian tour.
Got to open an office in Australia now.
Yeah, a huge portion of our audience is Australian. But yeah, man, episode 31. We took. I was talking to Leo or Ariel the other day, and I was like, it's been about 6 months since we do a podcast. They were telling me it's 11 months, which let's just call it a year. I mean, that's crazy. But yeah, we're on it again. We're on the horse, and we're not stopping this time. I guess, sometimes you're like, shit, I don't want to do a podcast today, But I've realized that I almost need it, like I need to be able to start, talk about things and come up with ideas. And it's also a really, really good excuse to get with my buddy Cadillac here. And even though we do, we're on this notorious group chat, and we do text every day on stuff, but still, sitting down and talking about the real estate market and talking about, stuff that's happening it's also a really good excuse for us to get face to face on stuff. So yeah, episode 31. You're on your podcast, you're by what, 48 you said, right?
Yeah, by almost up to 50.
Yeah. Cadillac's a very Cadillac's a lot more consistent than I am on stuff. You're way more organized, that's for sure.
That's I'm organized because I just don't trust myself as far as I can throw myself. I'm like, if I don't have it someplace where like I have to, I won't. Yeah. So I just I box myself in.
Yeah, it's funny because we were talking about the other day about success and we got into it pretty deep on whether you need a college degree to succeed. Yeah. Whether we went into like incomes and attorney versus doctor versus realtor, mortgage broker, and all that kind of stuff. And I started getting me thinking about like, keys to success, right? And what and also like, what is success? Everybody has a different determination on success. Like for example, like you think about Elon Musk, right? If I had the money that Elon Musk has, I would not be building spaceships or
you wouldn't put pants on.
I would, yeah. I would be Rodney Dangerfield. I don't know if you guys you heard about Rodney Dangerfield, that he would just show up to these places with a robe on and his nuts hanging out.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I'd be more of that. I'd be the, flip flops and long hair or robe with balls hanging out type of guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think so. So.
I think everybody's different, right? And so that definition of, some folks, it's to just take and do a job, come home, and just hang out with their family. Yeah, that's the win. And there's nothing wrong.
Free
with
time. So I heard the other day, the free time is the new wealth, right? Like how much free time do you have to do what you want to do when you want to do, right? Are you able to travel when you want to travel? Are you able to just pack up and go when you're able to go. So that's the stuff that's important to me. Freedom. Yeah. Freedom is what's important to me. That's my wealth. Am I doing pretty good? I'm doing pretty good. Right. I'd be doing a lot better if I didn't value, certain things, and, I have a almost 20-year case study on success. Right. So I'm in a unique situation. I got to thinking about that the other day, right? So, I have about 500 realtors right now, right? 99 or 98% of them, came to me pretty much brand new. Worst case scenario, 5% of them came from another company. So, but here's a different thing. Where I am in Miami, in the city of Doral, where my main office is at. We also got one. We got several offices, but the main office is in Doral, and I'm in a unique situation because I get a lot of people that are coming from other countries. With I haven't really sat down and counted, but I would not be surprised if I have 30 attorneys here from other countries.
Yep.
Engineers. I've had doctors, accountants. I have people that made a profession in their country. Did the right thing and did what they needed to do to be successful, and then communism, socialism, whatever ism, fuck things up for them, and they had to kind of drop everything and come to the United States and start all over again. It's a unique situation because I know a lot of them that had to start way, way, way bottom and I mean, washing dishes at a restaurant and then they end up landing on my plate in real estate. Again, from all walks of life, from all different types of countries, from all different types of professions. First and foremost, do you know? I don't know if I've told you this. If you know it, then well, I guess we'll go to the next conversation. But do you know what profession? So out of all the professions, what profession do you think that? Do you know the answer to that already?
I think so. I think I know where you're going with this.
Yeah. So out of all professions, right? Nurses, firemen, police officers, attorneys, accountants. What profession can I count on for sure making money in this industry? And that's when I figured it out. I'm like, oh, dude, that's
I need to be there recruiting.
I need to, do you know what it is?
Yes.
What, police officers?
Police officers,
yeah.
Absolutely.
So out of all the careers, so I got attorneys come here, don't make a penny. I got not for whatever reason. We kind of figured out why, because we figured out why during our negotiation, body language class and everything like that, reading people. So we figured out that the reason why police officers are I mean, they're not here making millions, but they're consistent. They always make money in this business is because they're able to read. There's nothing more important in this business than reading people, reading the room.
Sure.
Right? Reading body language. You're walking into a room or you're in a meeting, you need to figure out who's the one that, who have you sold? Who's on the fence?
Who's on the fence? Who you got to bring around? Yeah.
If you're dealing with a couple, who's wearing the pants in the family?
Absolutely.
Right. And we need to make sure the one wearing the pants is the one that's, giving you the positive body language and everything. So these police officers, I've had some that have been police officers 20 years before they got to me. They've been 20 years forced to read a room, like to save their life.
Yeah, who's going to kill me in this room? Who's
I'm walking into a room. There's 10 people there. I need to immediately spot out who is the potential enemy, aggressor. Are they lying to me?
Yep.
Right? Hey, there's somebody in that room. Is there somebody in that room? No. Are you lying to me? What's your body language like? Because when I go into that room, I don't want to get shot.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's years and years and years. Do they speak with authority? There's a lot of factors. So there's a lot of people that we, again, so I'm bringing these people in and yeah, they're shy and they can't get a point across. They can't get a point across with a certain amount of authority, that type of stuff, so it's interesting how out of all, again, I wouldn't consider them the most successful out of the group.
Right.
But I would consider them by far the most consistent.
So basically what you're saying is the work that they've done previously best prepared them for some of the skills necessary to flourish off the... I mean, not when you think about the fact that police officers are disproportionately exposed to interactions that are not always friendly. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times the interactions that we go into in real estate are, I don't want to say combative, but the customer sitting on the other side like, show me why I should work with you.
Sure.
Give me the reason why. And so that's not exactly, you're not walking into a church social.
Yeah.
You're walking into a situation where you have to establish that you have the chops to do this.
Yeah, it's not combative, but it's not combative either.
Right. They're on the fence, and you have to take and swing them over. And the strength of your ability to do that, what you can convey in your certainty, is huge. When a police officer says stop right there, they don't say it like it's a question. There's not a question mark at the end of the statement. Whereas when you have other people say that, how much authority are you bringing? And
and we've taught that in a class too.
Sure.
We've answering a question with a certain amount of authority. We've discussed that in a class. Like we gave the example when a listing agent, tells you, hey, would you do it? Would you lower your commission or something like that? And I use weird ass examples for everything. But I'm like, all right, well, if this listing agent or if this client would tell you, hey, can I grab your ass? I mean, obviously, depending on the
customer,
but
and how you feel.
But
about
normally it would be an absolute hell no. Of course you can't grab my ass.
I will never forget the first time you did that in front of me. That was so funny.
But am I right though? I mean, it's that's the way you answer. You don't answer. Oh, I don't know. Can you lower your commission half? Well, no, because no, absolutely not. Keep on. Move on.
The one that I like to use is they just asked you to make out with your brother or sister.
Right.
Like no, like what? No, like when did what? When did that? How did we even get there?
That's right. Like absolutely not. Yeah. Right. Like let's. I can't even believe you asked. I'm gonna pretend you never asked that, and I'm gonna continue on.
That way we can keep being friends. Yeah. Like
right.
we gotta. Let's just move on.
So I still teach a lot of classes. Kind of the classes that I like. I don't teach MLS classes and all that stuff like that. I kind of teach like I don't know, classes that I like to teach. One of the classes that I do teach is like the orientation class, like what to expect in the business and and what are the keys to success. Because what I find is that people are just completely misinformed on the most important things that you need to succeed in this business, right? Yep. Does it matter if you're great on the MLS? Does it matter if you're the best MLSer in the fucking country? It doesn't. Does it matter if you're the best contract filler outer, or it's you could tear the shit out of an addendum, It doesn't really not that doesn't matter. But I remember, important. Yeah, like I give the super screwed up example, and I'm not recommending this. And you know what? As a matter of fact, I might be joking about saying this or not. All right, we don't know.
This may or may not be true.
This may or may not be true. But when I started in this business, I would fill out. I've always been real bad at filling out paperwork, right? So I would show up to the office, with the listing agreement empty, but signed.
Yeah.
So I would show up and be like, here, fill it out. And I was good enough. I was going to say talented enough, but I had educated myself enough to have enough the skill set to be able to have somebody fill out an agreement empty and be like, hey, I'll fill it out later. Right. So I was good enough to do that, but I just wasn't good at paperwork. Right.
Good enough to show the integrity necessary for somebody to give that level of trust to you with basically a blank check in hand.
Right.
And I mean, that is a level of trust that most agents can't even come close to getting it. Yeah. It's okay to be a skill, bro. You could say it.
I mean, listen. So I'm talking to these agents. So I'm like, all right. So what is the key, right? What if there was one key to success? What is the key? Right. And I'm going to tell you, it's just wanting it. Right. Sure. So this is one for Brett, Ariel. So, I've come up with a kind of a screwed up little technique here. Right. But it allows the realtor or this is in any business in reality. But if you want to succeed in this business, okay, you got to use my life depended on it technique. Right. What is the life dependent on a technique? So I tell these people, all right, you just started in the business right now. Can you close? And I always kind of, start asking them, can you close 10 deals, in the next, 60 to 90 days? They're like, well, I don't know. I don't know if I could do that. Well, I haven't really learned the stuff yet. I get them. This is a question I ask right at the beginning. So I go, okay, so what if you have kids? Yeah, I got kids. Oh, you got a wife? Yeah. So what if I had your wife and kids kidnapped, and I were to tell you, if you don't close those 10 deals, I am going to torture and kill your family, right? Would you be able to close those deals? The answer is always, of course. Mm-hmm. Oh, no fucking shit. So, of course, you went from maybe I can do it to absolutely no doubt I can do it immediately.
Yeah.
So you can do it. So don't ever tell me that you can't do it. tell me you don't want to do it enough.
Absolutely.
You don't want it bad enough, right? Because if you did do it bad enough, and then I ask them, okay, so if you want, so now all of a sudden now, this weekend on Friday, your kids are locked up in a room, kidnapped, right? What are you doing this Friday? What are you doing this weekend?
Yeah.
Are you waking up early? What time are you waking up?
Mm-hmm.
All right. What are you going to be doing when you wake up? At what time are you done working? Are you working on the weekends, or are you going to have mimosas with your friends?
Yep.
Right. What are you doing? So here's the thing. Now you don't have to call me and ask me, hey, how hard do I have to work? Hey, what do I have to do? I know what I have to do because my family's life depended on it. I know how hard I have to work. I know I have to be obsessed. I know that nothing else matters, right? Now, the beauty of this business is that you don't have to do that forever.
No.
But that's the way to start the business. You want to start in this business, life depended on a technique. There's no other way to guarantee success. There's no other way. You add to that the Napoleon burned the ships story. Right, it was Napoleon, right?
No, it wasn't Napoleon, but I know what you're talking about.
Hey, let's for the sake of conversation,
It's Napoleon today. It's Napoleon today.
So Napoleon shows up, tells these guys, "Hey, shows up to an island in a battle. If you can think of who it is, do you know who it is?"
I'm drawing a blank on it.
So if guy shows up, they're going to war on an island. Tells his soldiers, they land. They tell the soldiers, "Hey, burn your ships behind you. Burn your ships." Oh, but what do you mean? If you don't win,
you're not going home.
You're not going home.
Yeah.
So. The combination of your life dependent on it and burn your ships behind you, it almost guarantees success in this business, because this business, listen, it ain't easy, but it's not that hard either.
Look, there is a direct correlation between effort put in and results. I had one gal that I was coaching, right? And her thing, I said,
because you're like hardcore doing coaching right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I have agents that come to me all the time. I mean, I teach all over the country. They want, like, what's the secret sauce, right?
Yeah.
And so her thing was, I tell everybody, you have to have money-making activities. When you have nothing to do, that's not good. Yeah. So you need to have things. I remember, I talk about yours. You had the rubber bands around the business cards, and you used to go hand the business cards out. I couldn't go home till I handed out this many business cards. Why do you do that? Because you can't trust yourself as far as you can throw yourself, right?
You got to do little tricks for yourself. You got to do like little tricks.
Cortez, that's right. It was Cortez.
That's the guy who burned the ships?
Cortez.
Hernan Cortez? Sounds like a Cuban guy.
He was a Spaniard. But yeah, man, I said to her, all right, what do you tell me what your money making? No more than 3. You're allowed 3. All right, pick the 3, and you're going to go whole hog on those. She says, well, I want to focus on 1. I want to focus on cold calls. So we all know cold calls is.
They suck, man.
It's the solitary confinement of real estate.
They suck, but you gotta embrace the suck.
500 a week she was going to do. That's what she committed to.
That's a lot.
She got 12 customers, 4 of which under contract in week 1.
And she did the 500?
She did 486 or something.
500
like.
Calls or just actual calls? Right. 500's a lot.
500 is, well, if there's 5 days
life
in a week.
Well, life dependent on it,
100
right?
phone calls a day.
Life dependent on it. Okay, so here we go. Life doesn't depend on it, and I just want to prove to everybody, I want to make it seem to everybody around me like I'm trying hard enough. 50. My fucking life depended on it. 500.
It's 100 a day.
500.
20 calls for 5 hours.
Right.
So
that's the thing. So I tell these people, I go, you guys got to understand, like, what I've suffered through, the tears, the blood, the sweat, and the tears that I've suffered through to be in the position that I'm at right now. So when you show up, right, to ask me a question, that's fine. But when you show up with an excuse and I can't do it and these calls are too hard and no, they're not answering my call, you got to understand how I just look at you. Mm-hmm. With all the experiences that I've had and all the thousands and thousands of phone calls and knocking on doors, and you're here to tell me you can't do it, it drives me absolutely insane. You're a fucking pussy. What you are.
Let me
man up or woman up or whatever, and let's get to work. Stop with the excuses.
Let me tell you how I kind of have handled that, because you and I are always dealing, and I love this because we're always dealing with the same problems and coming at it from different angles. So yeah. I always love to hear how you do it. The way that I address it in my classes is I usually preface my classes before I ever get in the material, and it's getting longer and longer, my prefaces, because there's all the stuff that they never told me in this business that I actually wound up really realizing I needed to know in order to be successful. The one thing you will be woefully unprepared to do when you come into real estate and have gotten your license is to actually do the business of real estate.
Right. Yeah.
And so one of
your
the
license is a waste of time.
It teaches you how not to lose.
And it's
the license.
not going to change.
Yeah, no, it's a thing. So one of the things that they never told you is this is an entrepreneurial endeavor, and you are the CEO of your company. You work under a broker, but you don't work for the broker. Right. You work for you. And so there's a few things, as the CEO of your real estate business, there are a few things that a CEO is never allowed to say. One of those is, it's not my fault, which means the number one CEO question you have to ask yourself is, what the hell are you going to do about it? My customers aren't motivated enough. What the hell are you going to do about it? I don't have enough leads. What the hell are you going to do about it? You know, what the hell are you going to do about it? Because it is on you. It is your responsibility. And so I have them write that down, and I say, whenever, there is no room for an excuse in your business. Anytime you want to make an excuse, you have to understand it is your responsibility to solve that.
So to add to that, so, you know, we offer a lot of leads here. So we give these realtors leads, you know, so I'll hand over, let's call it 100 leads to these agents, right? And they'll come to me like, oh, you know, these leads are not good. You know, nobody's interested right now. Okay. After I throw up in my fucking own mouth, all right, and I calm myself down, I explain to them that
that is a normal medical response to stupidity.
I mean, it's just I you know, I go, let me ask you a question. If your life depended on it, all right, and I tell you right now to go sell this bottle of water, right? You know what? Let's not even give that example. Let's just say if your life depended on it and you needed to get one buyer, right? I'm going to drop you off at the mall. All right, and you're going to show up to 100 random people, and you're going to ask them, hey, do you want to buy real estate? You want to buy and sell real estate? You want to buy and sell real estate? Statistically speaking, out of 100 people, you're going to get people. You know how I know that for a fact? Because when I spend years and years doing cold calls for listings, that's what you would get. Random fucking numbers. You would buy a list of random numbers in the neighborhood, and you would call them and see if they wanted to sell. And that was an actual, like you say, that's a thing. It's an actual technique. You call random fucking numbers, and out of those random numbers, you are counting on that statistically somebody's gonna be like, yeah, you know what, I do want to sell, maybe, or you know, my cousin wants to sell. And it works every time. This is not a new invention. It's every time. You can count on it. So now that I've explained that to you, you're telling me that I am giving you a list of 100 people that clicked on an ad that said, I want to buy, okay, send me a list of properties or give me properties in this area. And then they went through, what is it, Ariel, 7 steps for me to get that lead. They go through 7 steps. So I gave you 100 of those, and those people are not interested. Listen, please, yes, super, please. What are you in? So again, random works, but people that are interested don't. You don't want it bad enough.
That's it.
And you're making those calls almost like you're just going through the motions, right? So again, how do you make those calls? So if somebody says they're not interested, right? And you're just trying to go through the phone calls to say you made the phone calls. Oh, not interested. Oh, got her not interested. All right, almost happy. It seems like they're almost happy to get her not interested. Life dependent on it. But wait a second, you're not interested. How about this? How about I send you a list? I know you're not interested right now, but at some point, one day you're going to be interested. Oh, but I have a cousin that's a realtor. No problem. Allow me to be number 2.
Absolutely.
I would love to be number 2 on your list, because statistics, let's go back to statistics. Statistically speaking, your cousin is going to screw up at some point. So I just want to be number 2. Allow me for the next years to be number 2.
Yep.
All right. And by the way, as a number 2, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend that number 1 does not exist. And I'm going to continue. I'm going to just send you properties, and I'm going to function as if number 1 never existed. So that way, I make sure that I give you the service that you deserve. All right? So you're going to get an email. You're going to get text messages from me. Any questions you might have, call me. Again, number 1 to me does not exist. I want to be here. If you buy today, or if you buy tomorrow, or if you buy the year after, I want to be here. Right? What's wrong with that conversation, right?
If there's nothing signed, that's absolutely, and there's nothing signed. So,
and by the way, I've been through these arbitrations and sorry, these mediations and stuff. So even if there is something signed and it's better, the Association of Realtors wants to know that it wants whatever's best for the client.
Absolutely.
So if somebody got them to sign something and they're not doing what they have to do,
they're abandoned. Abandonment is a thing. No, absolutely.
Yeah. And by the way, I hate that agreement anyway.
I do too. The buyer's brokerage agreement. It's
horrible.
Although it may become a bigger part of our lives depending upon what goes on with that lawsuit.
But as of right now, it's like
not,
here, let's marry before we date.
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, the need of agents, and this is the big change that brokerages need to take and do. You've been doing this for a long time, but the idea of teaching agents they need to go in there and establish their value to their buyers and create that buyer loyalty is a critical part of training that's going to become a bigger and bigger thing as this kind of fleshes its way through. But man, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that the issue is a lot of times, especially when you talk about like doctors and lawyers that you have that work for you, and it's even in the chat that we had, you get the sense that the professionals think that they're above this, like this is beneath them to do. Yeah. And I think that that's just a critical failure in understanding the importance of work. You need to do things well, not by virtue of what it is that you're doing, but by the virtue of the fact that you're the one doing it. Yeah. And so, I mean, my father taught me this as a kid. I remember we had some trash cans out front, and the dogs tore up the trash, and there was trash all over the place. And my dad says, "Get out of the car, pick up the trash." And he's watching me, and he's like, "That's not how you pick up trash. You get in there. You always wash your hands. Work deserves to be done well. All work deserves to be done well. If you're cleaning up trash, you clean up trash well because you're the one cleaning up the trash." And so when your work is about who you are and not about what you're doing, it's so much easier to find value in everything you do and turn out a quality product. Because the reality of it is, these folks that phone it in this business, they're not proud of what they're doing. Yeah. And that is such a loss to them.
They don't want it. They don't want it. Don't tell me you can't. Don't tell me you can't. Tell me, come. Like I was telling him the other day, I mean, there's some people there that probably never came back to one of my classes again, and I'm fine with that. But I'm like, don't come to me and tell me you can't. Mm-hmm. Don't tell me you can't. Have the courage to come and tell me you don't want to. Yeah. Come, tell yourself, look at yourself in the mirror, and for real, tell yourself, you know what? I know I can, but I don't want it bad enough, and that's fine. Hey, there's nothing wrong with not wanting it bad enough.
That's where you are.
Right. I mean, it is what it is. But don't lie to yourself, and definitely don't lie to me, because I could see right through it. So when you show up in front of me with some excuse, I'm looking right through it, because what I've been through, the stuff that you have to go through to succeed in this business and to have a company, my size and it's just you would be amazed at the hurdles, So what other, I don't know, what other tip can we give these guys, these realtors that are
my number one, this has become this is a recent thing for me, but in my classes this has become note number one. I tell them they must pay the most expensive bill in real estate. They must commit to pay the most expensive bill. They must pay attention. You got to pay the bill. Yeah. And what I mean by pay attention, and this is one that always crushes me, right? I say, all right, we're having inflation in the economy right now. Good or bad for real estate? Yeah. I got a room of 100 agents and crickets. I say, so guys, I don't know if you read the notes in the class. It says to bring a little overnight bag with you. And the reason why is because I'm going to take you on a guilt trip, and it's happening right now. In a room full of people that market themselves as real estate professionals, not one person knows how the very market we're in affects the product that you're asking people to buy. Yeah. How is it okay that you're going out? Guys, we're not trying to sell cars here. We're trying to sell an asset that people are going to have for possibly the rest of their life. How is
the biggest investment of their life, usually?
How is it that if you give a rat's ass at all about anybody, you don't know what's good or bad about the product that you're trying to sell? You're going out there trying to sell it and not even knowing what's good about it, whether or not this market's any good. Because you and I both know, right? We've talked to enough people. There's always one underlying question in just about anybody that buys, investors especially, but homeowners as well. Am I buying at the right time, right? They're always trying to figure out, is this a bubble getting ready to burst? Yeah. And so if I can go in there and I'm paying attention, I know what kind of market we're in and what that means for real estate going forward, I can speak directly to answering that question. Is this a bubble? Is this the wrong time?
Yeah, that's almost that's in the same department as like education. And one of the other things that frustrates me, so like I mentioned, right, earlier in the podcast. So this business allows you to make as much or more money than any of those top professions, right? Like, you know, you can make more money than a doctor, than an attorney. What's another one? Like I don't know, architect, engineer, all of those, like, you know, top degrees. You can make more money than any of those guys. But this is the frustrating part, right? So when part of that orientation class, that notorious orientation class that I just taught, I went a little overboard on that one. I was feeling a little extra motivated that day. So I didn't
orientation. We're gonna call it notorientation.
Yeah, I didn't orient shit. I just started just talking. I actually have a PowerPoint presentation, and I might have read one word on it. I just started going off on it, man. Just started going off on started going off.
Your rejection of structure maintains.
Because here's the thing. So I'm telling you for a fact that you could make more money in this business than any other career, right? So then I asked these guys, hey, which one of you guys went to school for this, right? Which one of you guys went to university, or not for this, just in general for your careers? Which one of you went to school? Well, you know, a lot of them raise their hands because, like I mentioned, we do have a large percentage of professionals in my company, right? So they raise their hand. I'm like, all right, so how much did you get paid to go to school, right? You can see the look of confusion immediately. No, I didn't get paid. You know, I had to pay. Oh, no fucking shit. You had to pay. Yeah. So you had to pay. All right, for what? 5, 6, 7 years, depending on whatever the career is, maybe even 10 if you're getting your PhD or whatever, right? So you paid the whole time. Okay, well, I'm assuming since you paid, as soon as you got out of school, there was people lined up.
Guaranteed.
Right? The highest salary out there. You don't have to work for it. You don't have to go to interviews. I mean, they were just lined up begging you to come. No. Oh, how many... And when it really gets scary, how many of you actually had to work in something that's not what you studied for? That's scary. That's a scary one.
Yep.
So we've already agreed that you didn't pay, that you paid, right? That it wasn't this magic pill that you expected, okay? But yet, in this business here, if you spend a month learning and not making money,
you're pissed. You wanted to quit.
Oh, this business is not for me.
Yeah.
Oh, I should have listened to my cousin that told me that I shouldn't have done this, and et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, so, you know, or you could say to yourself, you know what? I'm going to treat this just like as a degree. And to add to your point there, I am going to pay attention. I am going to prepare myself. Prepare myself in what, Kat? Like, what are the things that I know for sure I'm going to need?
There's 3 categories for me that are the places that your mainstream real estate education is going to leave you holding the bag on. And I say that because there's like kind of a clear structure. To begin with, licensure. You have to go through the license class. Yeah. You have to pass the exam. That prepares you to do absolutely nothing in the day-to-day operation. Teaches you how not to lose your license. I get that. But once you get in there, you're going to hit another wall, which is, I need to show properties. How the hell do I show properties? You're going to take MLS training. That's going to be the next thing that you go to. And it's kind of, I don't want to say it's mandatory, but you're going to need to figure it out. After that, now you got these people, you showed them property, they like the property, now what? Well, now I got to do a contract for them. So that's the class, that's the other class that everybody takes, is the contract class. Always the most full. After that, it's a sandbox. So there's going to be a million marketing classes for every one of these 3 that I'm going to tell you right now. But these 3 topics are the 3 that will best prepare you to understand your product and how the transaction that you need to do has to go. 1, you got to understand value. You got to understand valuation. You need to know what a property's worth, and you need to understand how the appraiser arrives at those values. If you can't do that, well, then all of a sudden your role as real estate market expert, you're the person that they need at the table.
No, they're always going to ask, well, what do I offer?
Absolutely. Or how much is it worth?
Well, what I hear all the time is like, well, how much lower should I offer? Right? Like if there's a rule of thumb on how low, like, so if the property's worth, $500,000, rule of thumb is $450. No.
Depends on the market.
Correct. Well, how about, and they're like, well, but we have to offer lower. Do you? What if you look at the comparables and for whatever reason these people fucked up and the property's worth $800,000?
Absolutely.
Right. So are you still going to offer lower, or do you want to just send them what they want so you could grab this property and now it's yours for under market? So no, there is no rule of thumb on how you got to see what the property's worth.
No, I get that question all the time when I teach the investment stuff. Is what's a good cap rate? It depends on the market you're in. The cap rate that was good 2-3 years ago is not the same one that there is today.
Well, it depends on the property, depends on the area, depends on everything.
Well, absolutely, things change, right? So valuation is one. The second one is one that I know is near and dear to your heart. I told you I have that great negotiating story. It makes me think about what you were talking about. Life depends upon it. But it's negotiation. Yeah. Negotiation is such a critical piece of this. And making sure that you're taking your negotiation level up as you internalize like level 1 stuff, like just basic tactics and being aware, and getting to the level where you're looking at body language. Because there's a learning curve for that. Like you need to take and recognize tactics in the way and practice them. And when you're doing that, a lot of times you're more concerned with yourself. You're not ready yet for body language. Yeah. Body language requires you to be enough at peace with yourself that you can now start to say, hey, look, I know what to say. Yeah. Let me watch this other person and see what they're saying, because it's less about me. And so making sure that you're supplementing your negotiating skill as you mature. And then the third one for me is you have to understand the investment side of real estate, because 100% of people that buy real estate, even when I talk to first-time home buyers, I give them the investment conversation because I want them to understand if they're mediocre, if they're not motivated or low motivation, I want to make them super motivated. I want them so interested in this thing because I want them to understand what the value of this is going to be going forward for them in their life, because I know that my competitors aren't talking about it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I could.
Can I add to that?
Sure.
So, I'm going to add to that, and I'm going to give you like almost the entry point to this.
Okay.
Right? So, How to Win Friends and Influence People, that book there.
Great book.
That would be you want to start like, do you want to enter that door that's going to open up all those other doors, those learning doors of all the stuff you need to know? Because again, contracts is not that important. All that stuff's not important. Learning how to read people, right?
Yep.
And more importantly, what that book prepares you for is you're always going to have an asshole between you and success.
Yep.
Like, I need to get Cadillac's a client, Cadillac's this $1 billion investor, and I need to get to him. There's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 assholes that I got to get through, right? And I got to befriend, and I got to get on my side in order to get to Cadillac, right? I have to get this offer accepted, and the realtor's an absolute asshole because you're going to get it 50% of the time. I mean,
if you can get them on the phone.
If you could get them on the phone, they're gonna, think, that their shit don't stink, and all of us, they're gonna be very difficult people. So how do we getting those people on your side, right? So How to Win Friends and Influence People brings everything together.
Sure.
But out of there, you're gonna branch out with negotiation, right? How good can you get at negotiation? How the dynamics, the structure, the important go-to rule of thumbs on negotiation. Okay, caring, not that much. Not showing desperation. Timing.
Asking the right kind of questions.
Knowing what side of the negotiation you're on, whether time is on your side or not. Yep. Right. So sometimes you're negotiating, and you're like, well, for me, the longer it takes, the better. Yeah. But that other side has a deadline.
Absolutely.
That other side needs to make a decision. So
is time on my side?
Is time on my side? It's a huge one, right?
Absolutely. Slow roll it. I mean, one of the examples I love to give that's very much what you're talking about, and I love what you did there, because what you're talking about right now, I consider part of negotiation that human interaction, that getting that person on my side, because that is a form of negotiation, right? But separating, because most people, you're right, most people don't think of it that way and bringing it in that way. But I would say that when you're talking about the thing for me is when it comes to time is the listing. If I'm a listing agent and I get an offer in, let's say the property's listed for $450 and I get an offer in for $440, I send it to my seller and my seller sent it back 5 minutes later signed. There's no way I'm sending that back to the buyer right away. I'm calling the seller up and I'm saying, look, I have an ethical requirement to send this to the other side. The next words out of your mouth need to be, Josh, I made a mistake. Don't send that to the other side yet. I say, then they start to say, what do you mean, Josh? No. The next words out of your mouth need to be, Josh, don't send, trust me, I'm looking out for you, right? Oh, okay, Josh, don't sign it. All right. Now I want you to have a fight with me about this, all right? We got to have a fight about this price, all right? I want you, knock down, drag out fight, right?
All right.
And then I look at the time for acceptance. And if it says tomorrow at 5 o'clock, tomorrow at 4:58, I'm sending that off to the other agent with a phone call that says, yeah. If you know what I had to go through to get this, the offer signed for you, they're going to be cleaning my blood up off the floor.
You don't want to make things look too easy.
Because here's the thing. If I send that offer back right away, I know what that buyer's going to think.
That's too easy.
I should have offered less. You were right. Honey, I told you we should have offered less. Yeah. I want them to experience the fear that they're not going to get it. And I want that other agent to be like, when it comes, because if I don't do that, right, when that home inspection comes in and there's $5,000 worth of stuff, they're going to look for a $7,000 credit. Yeah. But if I make them feel like they squeezed every nickel out, that credit's maybe $1,200.
Well, the beautiful thing about negotiation is that it's everywhere.
Yeah.
You're negotiating all day,
constantly,
every day. So once you start learning about it, once you start reading up about it, once you start going on YouTube's, watching YouTube videos and understanding it, you're going to see it everywhere, right? Like, again, who's in a hurry and who has time on their side on this? You can negotiate with your kid. I don't know, like my kid wanted to go to one of my kids wanted, actually they both went, but they wanted to go to Grand Rapids. They're asking me on the weekend, they want to go to Grand Rapids today. They got things they got to do, right? So I'm like, no, unless you do X, Y, and Z, right? Time's on my side.
Absolutely.
I'm at Monday mornings creeping up, right? So yeah, I could take all the time I want, or maybe the deadline passes. I don't want them to go anyway, right? I mean, that's fine. They got to hurry up and they got to fulfill these negotiating, criteria before time. And that's, again, so you're home and you're negotiating. We're like, wait a second, time's on my side. And you start recognizing these things. But yes, you need to be an expert negotiator. You need to be an expert at reading people. You need to be an expert at body language and understanding, I use the example all the time in the class. It's a very, very simple, there's a lot more to body language than this, but, if you're sitting across from somebody and you ask them a question, right? They're sitting like this, and you ask them a question and they say yes. Oh yeah, yes, for sure. And they kind of lean back and cross their arms.
You lost them.
So they answered yes. Their words say yes, but their body language says no, right? So which one do we listen to?
Absolutely.
You got to listen to the body language. The body language is really what they are going to answer. So you add to that, reading people, negotiation, some body language, some neuro-linguistic programming, right? You could get to the point where I haven't gotten to that point. I mean, I stopped short of that, but you could get to the point where you're almost hypnotizing people.
Yeah.
In a conversation, you know what I mean? So it's how hard do you want to go? How hard? So back to why we started this. So when you're telling me that, that you're frustrated because you haven't made money in a month or whatever, give yourself 4 years. Give yourself 4 or 5 years and become obsessed with preparing yourself and negotiate and all the arts that we just mentioned are important, right? Read every book, go on YouTube and see every video on each one of those topics. How to dealing with people, psychology of humans, right? Negotiation, neuro-linguistic programming, body language. I mean, just go down that rabbit hole and understand everything you could possibly have to understand about those things right there. If you become an expert on dealing with people and getting people to understand what you are, you have to be an excellent communicator. So I need you to understand A, right? I don't need you to understand B. How do I, if you're going to put an offer on a property, $1 million, right? That's what they're asking. Okay. There's 20 offers on it, but your client wants to offer 900,000. Okay. How do you get them to understand that you can't offer 900,000 because there's 20 offers? Yeah. How do you make them understand that you got to put $1 million? You're either the guy who's going to continue to put $900,000 offers from here to kingdom come, or you're the guy who is able to explain to the client, hey, why you got to offer $1 million? And that's the difference in real estate.
Well, yeah,
you know?
I think that there's maybe one clarification that I'd want to make, which is we're talking about stuff that you need to know how to do to excel at this business, but nobody's expecting you to walk in the door being able to do this stuff.
Right.
This is sort of aspirational, which means I think that the question that you need to ask yourself as an agent listening to this would be, am I worth the investment to give myself this opportunity? Because it is going to be you investing in you by broadening what you know, by working on your skills on a continuous basis. If the answer to that question is no, then you probably have self-esteem issues that you need to deal with if you don't think you're worth the investment and the opportunity.
Yeah.
Because the thing that this country promises people is not wealth. It is the opportunity. It is the land of opportunity, not the land of wealth. Yeah. Right? You want the wealth, the opportunities are there. That's the thing. I think that was the big takeaway that I got from that chat. Everybody's talking about their favorite method of getting ahead. You need college degrees. You need and every person in that chat is successful regardless of what they've done, because every one of them have seen the opportunities and have done what was necessary to take advantage of them.
The good thing about that chat is it was a very interesting argument. The argument was, so it's in this chat, we got two attorneys, we got a guy with a PhD. Everybody's successful. Everybody's successful in their own right in that chat. And the conversation was, do you need to go to school?
To college.
To college. Do you need to go to college, right? And everybody had a different answer. Of course, the attorney said yes. I get it, because you can't become an attorney without it.
Yeah.
Right? But the point of the matter is, okay, and then it gets real crazy, because then it's like, all right, well, what is success? Is success free time? Is success being happy? Is success being? I haven't met many happy attorneys. I mean, every attorney's miserable, and one of them explained to me, we're all we're doing is dealing with people's problems all day.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So as a doctor, happy, all right? As a doctor, happy. I mean, they're dealing with sick people and people dying all day. That has to affect you at some point.
Yeah.
Right? So, it just depends. It depends what you want to do, and what the level of what the definition of success is for you. But the fact of the matter is, I personally value wanting it and educating yourself. What's that Good Will Hunting little scene there where it's like, I could get this degree with $1.50 in late fees from, he's arguing with the guy at the bar, and I could learn everything you're learning basically with $1.50 in late fees from the public library.
Yep.
And nowadays that's more true than anything else, because between YouTube and Audible and Amazon Books and Kindle and the this and the that, you could go right now and say, I want to become an expert in this, and just read every book, watch every video that's out there on that subject, and you'll be pretty damn close to
more so, because here's the thing. If you had two choices, one person that went to school and was told you must study this and to get your degree, and one person that was never told they had to study anything but went out of their way to get all kinds of individual certifications that they chased after, I put forth to you the person that went and chased after that stuff themselves without any kind of person standing over their shoulder setting the structure up. That's the person I want. The person that went out there of their own volition and, hey, look, I've read these books on this topic. I've studied this. I've done this. Nobody told me I had to do it. I did this myself. Well, I said that says something about that person's character, their willingness to go out. Because at the end of the day, as a real estate agent, nobody is standing there over your head with a baseball bat. Nobody's going to make you. You don't have a college syllabus or a schedule and a syllabus to tell you what you got to do. You don't have that structure in this business. You're better than most brokers by far, because you go out of your way to try to give those agents some structure. We'll try to say, here's a plan. Let's do a plan together. But most of the time, for most agents in this business, you're dropped in the sandbox and say, go make art out of that sand. And you no instruction, no pail. You got to get your own pail. What pail do you need? What shovel do you need? You don't know. Go figure that out. You're on your own. And so somebody that's shown the ability to function their own. And I've actually read several books on this. This is actually becoming more valued in hiring in big companies, and degrees are becoming less valuable, because showing that initiative to take and find the answer, figure it out, as my dad used to say to me.
Yeah.
Man, that is in scarce
supply.
supply.
Figuring out thing, like my kids, I would say a large portion of the questions they ask me, I say, I don't know, figure it out. Figure it out is very underutilized tool, you know. when you're talking to kids, I mean, kids are. I was with a buddy of mine the other day, and we were like, we were on the boat, and the kid, his kid and my kid are like, you know, like best friends and stuff. They're always together and stuff. And his son says, you know, Dad, help me put on this snorkel, and the mask. You know, we're gonna go snorkeling or whatever. And then he's on the mission, and he's like, dude, why can't you figure it out? I'm like, hey, I mean, I don't want to tell you anything. You know, it's your kid, but tell him to figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, tell him to figure it out. Like if you're there, you know, the whole time. You know, oh, okay, let me put the mask on for you. Dude, figure it out, or you don't breathe.
Yeah.
Right? Or you're going to swallow a bunch of salt water. And you know what? You're going to do it 3 times, and guess what happens after that? Figure it out. Figure it out. And how that translates to real estate is you gotta, as time progresses in the business, you're going to figure out what you need to learn.
Sure.
You're gonna
if you're paying attention.
If you're paying attention, you're gonna know the difference between a good realtor and a great realtor. A person who barely makes a living or the person who makes as much money as they want is they gotta be able to educate themselves in the stuff that they need. They gotta be able to say, all right, I am going to become a master Just think about it. If I could give you a magic pill and all of a sudden you're a master negotiator, how quickly does your career, you know,
oh my
change?
God.
And
Yeah.
you could go through every book and every video that exists if you really go at it in a month and a half. You can go through every single bit of material and negotiate. They're not long.
They're not.
You know, so all of a sudden from one month to the next, you could be an expert negotiator. Imagine how your life changes if all of a sudden you're the guy who understands the dynamics of negotiation, understands, you know, the psychology of negotiation. Imagine that.
But see, this is the thing, right? It has to come back to that individual responsibility. You have to do the work. You've laid out what it is. Yeah, look, my father, one of the very first lesson I ever remember my father teaching me as a little boy, I was sitting in the car with him, and we had to get from one place to another. We had to be at an appointment, whatever. Maybe 3-4 years old, and you know, fairly recently pottied. You know, like bathrooms. We were good, but you know,
Bathroom's a challenge still.
Yeah. And so he says, I said, Daddy, I have to go to the bathroom. He looks over to me and he says, son, sometimes you have to learn to soldier. That was it. That was the lesson. Suck it up, buttercup. Right. Sometimes you have to take and put off what you want.
Right.
Sometimes you have to suffer in the interim because something bigger has to get done. And that lesson has stuck.
So after you shit your pants, what happened?
No, I waited 2 hours and we found a bathroom. And
2 hours, right.
You know, what do they do today? They tear the rubber off the tires getting the kid to the bathroom.
Yeah.
You know what? At the end of the day, you're not helping anybody with that. People need to learn to take and be able to put aside what they want in the moment for something bigger. And so I saw that, and it's one of the last lessons my father taught me was that exact same lesson. We had this major outdoor event. I won't give the long version of the story, but we were incredibly shorthanded. And my father was, at this point, in so much pain that they were actually going to take and cut him open and put a morphine pump inside of his body to deal with the pain that he had in his legs. They thought he had microfractures in his legs, right? And so we're getting ready to do this outdoor event, and it was a brutal 6 in the morning till 2 in the morning is from setup to tear down for this like 5-hour service that we would have to do to serve food. And so I'm looking at everybody. I got like 12 people. I really need 15 to take and handle this service. And I see my father's Cadillac pull up. And I figure he's going to roll down the window and like, hey, look, I know you guys are short-handed or whatever. Is there anything you need? Whatever. Mm-hmm. And I see the old man pull himself out of the car, pull himself back up to attention, and march over. And for 5 hours, he stood there on those legs that everybody thought was broken, and he worked.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you need a soldier.
Yeah.
And so not only did he tell me, he showed me.
Yeah.
Right? I knew, though, watching that. You can imagine as a son, this is the year before my father passed.
Yeah.
You could imagine what it is when you know this old man doesn't tell you that he doesn't let his people. You don't let your people down.
Yeah.
He showed you. And when it hurt and when it cost, he was still willing to pay that cost. And see, for me, right, that's that idea of seeing what that sacrifice looks like. And I respect that, right? And that's who I want to be. And so being that, seeing that and being that, right, willing to make the sacrifice, willing to take the pain in the moment because something bigger has to get done.
Yeah.
This is, you know, it's not, guys, I'm not asking you to stand on broken legs. I'm asking you to go to an Audible account, download some freaking negotiating books and read them. right?
Yeah, Cadillac. So in summary, if we could add, so let's say we each give our top 3 books, right? We could only read 3, right? That this is it. You could only read that. This is how about 5? 5 is a little bit more realistic.
Well, I mean, can we just toss out a few of the top contenders and see what number we get?
I could tell you, How to Win Friends and Influence People would be my first, right? Rich Dad Poor Dad,
great book.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Good stuff.
Okay. Just to get you started in negotiation, Herb Cohen.
That was going to be on my list.
Herb Cohen.
How you can negotiate anything.
How you can negotiate anything.
Yep.
There's a new negotiation book that I'm going through right now. I'll tell you right now. You can start giving yours, but
sure.
Make it my 5th.
For me, I'm a big believer in establishing that you're the real estate market expert in the room, because I think that's where the customer's need is. So balancing that with the social, if you have the social skills and you can also make the case that you really understand the market well, I think it's the perfect synergy of both things. So mine are going to be a little bit more maybe market based. A book that I think that every agent should have a handle on the basics of how a market works. And so understanding economics and an economy is an important thing.
Sorry to interrupt. So the one I'm going through right now is Never Split the Difference.
Oh, yeah.
By Chris Voss. He's an FBI negotiator.
Yeah.
So it's another negotiation book. So Never Split the Difference. That's definitely a good one.
Yeah.
So that would be my 5.
Cool.
You know?
So for me, Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell is a great read. I know it's not specific to real estate, but understanding how economic pressures affect, your product. You're asking people to buy or sell a product. You need, if you're coming in to represent them, you need to be able to make the case that it is or is not a good time to do that. And just having a basic understanding. The reason why I love that book is there's not a chart or a graph in the book. It is all explained. If you hate economics, that's the book for you.
Right.
Because that's how it's explained. And so there's a great book. Most people have read The Big Short, so I'm not going to say The Big Short. There's a book called All the Devils Are Here. And so The Big Short was written by a journalist talking about the market, and they had kind of their own bent to make it all about greed. All the Devils Are Here was written by a CEO of a bank. And the guy talked about exactly what the government was telling them, what was happening to them more. Like, he has a completely different perspective, not as somebody on the outside looking in, but as somebody that was in there. So great book if you want a different take on the market. Those are 2 that really stand out to me that I've read recently that I think are.
But you agree with all the ones that
all 5 of yours? No, all 5 of yours are excellent choices. Anything that's going to take and help you to understand your market better and understand your numbers better is huge. And so.
All right, you don't have to get 5.
No, I mean,
the thing is that Cadillac has to choose from a lot more than me. He has to choose to like 1 million. He's how many? Are you still going through a crazy amount of books a month, or?
Yeah, no.
How many books a month you average?
I probably listen to about 12 or 15 books a month.
Yeah.
And so.
Right. I mean, and that's a little slower than before, though.
Well, yeah, it depends.
You're a lot busier.
Some weeks, I mean,
and this is since I've known Cadillac pretty much. So that, if you had to guess how many books in total you've read,
just under 3,000.
Right. So
that's why by the end of the year
he's struggling to give 2 because he has a lot more to choose from. So, all right, guys, episode 31. I think we covered. Yeah. Those are the Australian fans, by the way.
No, I could hear the accent. Cheers.
Yeah. So what's that? Oh, wait a second.
Yeah.
Cadillac. How are you not going to mention your book?
I never like to be the guy that touts my own stuff.
Well, let's talk about your 2 books.
Yeah. The Roadmap to the American Dream is a book that I wrote about how money and investing in real estate works. And so that's one of the things I was trying to go through about 6 different books on that topic because it's such an important one. But if you want one that's specifically written on investing, not just real estate investing and understanding how money works, I wrote that book because they just don't teach you how money works in this country. I love it. I get immigrants and they're like, I'm not sure how the system works. I'm like, don't worry about it. Nobody that lives here knows how it works either.
Yeah.
They just don't teach in the mainstream education. So that book was written just for anybody, even a kid that wants to understand how it works. I wrote it to basically pick up where education left off. And then the new book is a book called Close for Life, and it's specifically written for real estate agents about how to do this business well and how to actually build a business. They never teach you in this business to build a business. They teach you to close deals. And unfortunately, that leaves you in a position where you're constantly advertising and constantly chasing paychecks. I believe in building a business. The only way to build a business is to have customers that come back to you over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And so I want that repeat business, and the way I earn that business is by the way I close this deal. Yeah. I don't want this deal. I want every deal they're ever going to do. Yeah. So how to run my business from start to finish. Like, that book should really have been titled All the Crap They Never Taught Me in Real Estate that I needed to know in order to be successful in real estate. Because most of that wound up all being lessons from my father, who was a very successful businessman. And when I looked at what made me successful in this business, it was all the stuff he taught me. How I went up in the short sale side of the business and having 70, 80 listings at a time and all this stuff. It was all just, I mean, that's the thing. You know, you talk about figure it out. My father, if I asked him a question about something, he was always a curious guy. He understood. If I asked him how a nuclear bomb worked, he would explain to me how the uranium would be high, how they you refine the uranium, because he was always interested, right? And so being always interested is just such a great tool to look at this beautiful world that we have and not take it for granted, but really soak up what's there. So as an agent, man, if I want to summarize what it is, be interested, figure out how it benefits the customer, and give your customer something they'll feel like they can get someplace else.
Yeah. No, I agree. All right, episode 31. Yeah.
There it is.
So, I mean, I think we covered a lot. I think we gave a little tidbit on what it takes. You know, listen, honestly, if it's just you just got to want it bad enough. If you want it bad enough, I never had anybody really guide me through the business. You know, I never had like a mentor or really somebody who had been there before. You know, you know, I'm kind of figuring it out as I go. But I think that my wanting to succeed, I absolutely needed to succeed. That's what. So you got to tell yourself, and I tell people all the time, look, this business might not be for you, because this business is, you got to want it. It becomes easy if you want it. If you want to succeed, it becomes easy. If you don't want to succeed, then it becomes very difficult, because nobody wants to make cold calls. But if it's all, you got to make 100 phone calls, you know, and I go back to that Winston Churchill, you know, quote, success is going from failure to failure without the loss of enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Success is going from failure to failure without the loss of enthusiasm. One of the biggest badasses this planet has ever produced said that quote. Mm-hmm. He might as well have been a realtor, you know, because success is going from, you know, when you're making these calls, these cold calls, and you're calling these clients, success is going from no to no, from hang up to hang up, from go fuck yourself to, you know, like all these, you know, when you're making these cold calls, you're getting all kinds of stuff. You're getting nice hang-ups. You're getting very, very mean hang-ups, right? So success is going from each one of those without the loss of enthusiasm, because you're making 100 calls, right? And you know, you never know. Statistically speaking, you know, that's what I tell these guys all the time. Statistically speaking, if you're closing 5% of deals, you're a badass. You're killing it.
Yep.
So that means, yes, exactly. Is that a bomb? How many sounds does that thing have? Yeah. That's like the rave one. Look at that. That's a hip hop. Nice. So what was I saying?
You're talking about if they can close 5%.
Oh, so if you close 5%, you're amazing. Yeah. So imagine that you're in a business, and that's what people have a hard time understanding. By the way, this goes for every other business. You're making cold calls in insurance. You're making whatever it is. You're probably going to have about a 95% failure rate, right? So if you're in business, and let's talk about real estate specifically. You're in a business where if you're a badass, if you're closing 5%, you're still getting 95% failures. 95% they don't call you back. 95% they hang up on you. 95% they tell you to go to hell. Whatever it is. Guys, here's the trick though. You don't know where the 5% is going to be.
That's right.
Right? You might have to go through all 95% no's, and then the last ones
are the yeses.
Are the yeses, right? Yeah. And then guess what? Are you going to be all beat up and sad and reevaluating your life because you've just got 95% no's, right? Or 95 no's before this one? Or you're going to be just fresh as a daisy, ready to go, because none of those 95s affected you. What if, you know, they're all spread out and you just got your ass kicked on a call? They told you to go to hell, get a life, this and that, you suck, whatever it is they're going to tell you to get you down. because I could tell you there's nothing they could tell me to get me down, right? So if they got you down, and then the next one is the call. That's the one. That's the door that opens up. That's going to make you millions of dollars in commissions, right? And there is doors like that, because they introduce you to one guy and then the other guy, and it could be any amount. But guess what? You're too depressed and beat up, right, and sad and reevaluating, everything to recognize that one.
I think that's really important. If we could just take 1 second on that, I think that's so important, because it's one of the things on my list of things they never tell you in this business. Nobody, and it's one of the things I've always respected about you telling your agents. You tell them it's going to be hard, and I say to them, look, because you're going to have, that's a 19 no's to every 1 yes ratio. 95%. That's 19 no's to get every 1 yes, right? Yeah. And that means that you've got to expect this is going to get you down. And because it's going to beat you up and get you down, you need to have a plan in place. If you care at all about yourself and your business, you need to have a plan in place of how you're going to get yourself back up. And so I talk about the idea of a rally point, which is like, you watch a Rocky movie or something like that. And, he's gotten his ass kicked the entire fight. How does Rocky stop a punch? With his face, right? I mean, everything hits him, right? And he's down there on the mat. He's bloody. He's battered. And you're saying to yourself, you want him to get up, but you're like, look, even if this guy stays down, he gave him hell, right? Especially like the last movie in particular, Rocky Balboa. There's a scene in that movie where he's down in the last round, and he's thinking back, and he says, and what does Rocky always think about? It's not himself. He always thinks about something bigger, right? His family, Mick, whatever it was. But it's something, and it makes him put his gloves on the mat, lift himself back up again, and say, I can go a little more. Yeah. And as an agent, you need that. You need to, for me, that vision of my dad standing there, I'm his boy. If he could come through, I could come through. And it gets me back in the fight, right? It's got to be something bigger, that rally point. And so if you watch that movie, actually, watch it again. You watch the look he turns around and gives the other fighter, and the look on that other guy's face of what is this man made out of, that he's back there standing up again. Yeah. I want to be that guy that stands back up. Yeah. Well, and this will be the last point, because we got to wrap it up. But another little key to success, another little thing that got me through, because it hasn't all been rainbows and butterflies. There's been very, very difficult times in this business. There's been times where I'm like, man, this thing sucks. Like 2008, 2009. We're talking about just my day. My day consisted of suffering. It's how bad was it going to suck? Was the question, not right? If, just how much. No, it was just how much. And you give yourself, if you give yourself like there's a goal, right? Like, okay, so here's where I want to get, right? Here's where I want to get. Here's what I want to have, and here's the things that I want to do, and here's the goals that I want to accomplish, right? If you focus on those, and if I tell you right now, all right, well, you got to go and you got to run a mile. You got to run a mile. After the end of that mile, I'm going to give you $1 million, right? But that mile is going to have people hitting you with bats. There's going to be glass on the floor. There's going to be fire on the floor. Are you going to only be focused on the fire on the floor and the glass on the floor? Is that all you're thinking about? Because if that's all you're thinking about, it's going to be miserable. Yeah. Man, all you're thinking about is those $1 million. All you're thinking about is, what am I going to do with those $1 million? I don't care what they throw at me. I don't care how bad my feet are going to be. I'll get new feet. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like that you focus on the $1 million. You focus on the goal. You focus on the stuff. And I'm going to tell you right now, guys, there's another book, it's also by Dale Carnegie. It is, Stop Worrying and Start Living, right? Stop Worrying and Start. That's another phenomenal book, and that got me through everything. David Goggins' book is also. I haven't, and I should. Oh my goodness! So this is Can't Hurt Me. Yeah, great book. Yeah, I got to do that one. So it's you stop worrying and start living. You focus on the good stuff. There's one saying on that book that's amazing, and people should just. This should be on my wall. My life is full of misfortunes, most of which never happened. Yeah. My life is full of, it's a French philosopher. I don't know the guy's name. Even if I did, I couldn't pronounce it. But my life is full of misfortunes, most of which never happened. And people start worrying about stuff. And what if this and what if that? And how many things that you've actually worried about in life actually came through? It's always the ones that surprise your ass. Absolutely. Those are the ones that always get you, are the ones that just hit you as blindsided. You know what I mean? I read one that was similar to that. the other day, and it really stuck with me. It was like, what if you woke up tomorrow and all you had left is what you thank God for the day before? And I was like, uh-oh. Yeah. You know, like, that's just, and then makes you realize all the good things in your life that you really would miss if you didn't have it. And look, the idea that grateful people are never hateful people. Yeah. If you're grateful for what you have, and you really think about it, we're very blessed in what we have, where we are, what the opportunities that are in front of us, and so just enjoying that. Yeah,
this I will leave. This is the last one, so you guys could really understand that it's never that bad. No matter how tough the market is, and it's not now, by the way. I'm not saying the market's phenomenal right now, but I'm just saying, like, no matter how difficult things are and everything, just appreciate what you have and appreciate the business. But there's one that really, really, really got to me. It was a healthy man has a million wishes. A sick man has but one.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So if you're sick and you're in the hospital and you're about to die, you got one wish, man. Just fucking one wish. I just want to live. I just want to live. If you're a healthy man, you got a million things and this and that and this and that. So at the end of the day, like, you guys got to really understand that in business, in this business and in business in general, you know what? Every day, wake up and enjoy what you do. Enjoy it. And listen, do I wake up every morning and I love this business? No, a lot of times I hate it. I mean, but in my defense, all I deal with is headaches. If everything in the company's fine, I don't hear from it. When things get complicated is when it comes to my plate. But you know what? I've even come to enjoy that part of it. So enjoy what you do. Enjoy the calls. Enjoy the hard part. My son wrestles and I've fallen in love with that sport. And the main, anybody who knows wrestling, there's one saying. It's embrace the grind, right? Embrace how much it sucks. And I love to see these kids at such a young age, like, the harder the practice, the more blood, and I'm not exaggerating, the more blood, the more sweat, the more injured they are, the harder that practice sucks, the more they enjoy it, the happier they are, the more euphoric feelings they have after. So that's what you got to fall in love with, how difficult. Be comfortable being uncomfortable, right? If you're uncomfortable, you're doing something right, right? If you're sitting in front of 100 people you have to call and it sucks and you don't want to do it, you're in the right place.
Yep.
You're in the right place. You're in the right place. So understand that. Embrace the suck. Embrace it. Put yourself in uncomfortable situations in this business. Jump and then figure it out. That's another thing. All right. Jump and then figure it out. A lot of these guys, they want to, before they jump, I was training somebody to make calls the other day and they had a list of stuff. How it was going to be, that first call was going to be perfect. I'm like, dude, it's never going to be perfect.
Nope.
Jump, start making the calls, and then you're going to learn. Yep. Then you're going to learn and you'll figure out. And at some point it'll be perfect, but it'll just start. Just get out there and just do it. So, all right, 31. See you guys in 32. Cadillac, thanks, brother. Appreciate it. Hey, the book again, the newest one,
Closed for Life, coming out July 11th.
Oh, it's not. I thought it was out already. No, July 11th.
Well, it's on Amazon.
That's like this week. It is on Amazon.
It's on Amazon. Yeah, no.
Closed for life.
People are already getting their pre-orders.
Yeah, no shit.
All right, starting to get pictures of people.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. See you soon.